The KwaZulu-Natal administration is trying hard to allay investor fears and woo the back investors. Now, Premier Sihle Zikalala and a delegation of MECs held a two-day meeting with business leaders and diplomats to restore confidence in the province. This follows the violent week-long unrest in July that led to nearly 50 billion rand in economic damage, leaving investors questioning whether it's still safe to invest in KZN. Joining me now is the KZN Economic Development MEC, Ravi Pillay. Mr. Pillay, a pleasure to have you on the program this afternoon. Now, we heard from the Premier Sihle Zikalala earlier this week, who assured investors that the province remains investor-friendly despite that recent unrest and the riots, accompanied by looting and destruction of property. What assurance are you giving investors right now?
Well, thank you. Good afternoon, and good afternoon to your viewers. Look, I think it's a three-phase message. It's a message of reassuring, rebuilding, reinvesting, and what we call KZN rising. I think investors are keen to know and see evidence of, firstly, adequate security and security coordination. And I think we were able to demonstrate to them that, notwithstanding the first 3 or 4 days where we were found wanting, that coordination has happened. Their security presence is visible, and the coordination is responsive. But we are also very clear to them, which I think they appreciated, that that's just one half, if not less, of the response. The balance is to look at communities. Communities want to see evidence of a more inclusive economy emerging, and that is receiving serious attention, what we call township and rural economy. I think business is astute enough to understand that that becomes a critical part of the equation going forward, and that they are keen. We are quite pleased about that they are keen to contribute to a new model. We also have to deal with the issues of social cohesion and express our concern about issues around social cohesion, nation building, racial intolerance, and that we have to respond seriously on that front as well. But I think they too were inspired by the rise of the average South African citizens rising, whether to just pick up a broom or a spade and begin the cleanup, demonstrating a strong resilience. And I think they identified with that quite strongly. We were quite pleased also that many corporate citizens have already indicated and acted that they are reinvesting, reopening, rebuilding, and we've seen evidence of that. In fact, the diplomatic corps, which we met extensively over the last 2 days on Thursday and Friday, where I think we're also impressed that we came to them. We were not busy fighting fires at home. We came to them in Pretoria to say that the situation is under control and stable, and this is the work that's underway. Fortunately, there were many major corporate citizens who have already acted, who have made very clear statements, and we were repeating to them what foreign investors were saying to us as we were trying to rebuild over the COVID and post-COVID period. And the message from foreign investors was, look, get your domestic investors to take the lead, and we will certainly follow. And basically they were saying, we want to see that your domestic investors have the confidence. And we are pleased to say that they are showing that confidence and commitment, and indeed a strong patriotism. On the social cohesion front, we already started some intense work to mobilize all our stakeholders, religious leaders, traditional leaders, civil society organizations, to be part of a strong conversation in our communities to say, okay, what happened? Why did it happen? Why and how we will make sure that it doesn't happen again. And there are some deep-rooted issues that we have to attend to in a credible way. Of course, I think the immediate actions that need to be taken in terms of relief, the rollout or implementation of those who were insured, what is called the SASRIA claims, and we've engaged with SASRIA, and they've assured us that they will be processing those claims as quickly as is possible. But that will be for the relatively fortunate in the sense that they have insurance cover. We also want to look at those who are uninsured. And I think you've heard or seen the announcement that at a national level, some 4 billion rand has been mobilized for the country as a whole. That would mean basically KZN and Gauteng. And the data collection is far advanced. We've had to go to every town. This wasn't just eThekwini or Pietermaritzburg. Many small towns were seriously affected. The SMMEs reaching out to even informal traders in our townships to make sure that they can get some relief to get them back into a rebounding, so to speak. And it's all about building confidence, and we were very pleased with the reaction of the diplomatic corps and the business sector as we've engaged with them. But there's a lot of work that still needs to be done.
Speaking about the work that still needs to be done, in terms of tourism, how has the province suffered, and would you say that you are on the path to recovery?
Look, when we analyzed the impact on tourism of the unrest, it was marginal. I think it came out as under 1%. But COVID, tourism is more a victim of COVID-19 than the unrest, except to the extent that, it's a confidence factor. But I think it's mainly the COVID-19 issues, and there we take our strength from the rollout of the vaccination program. KZN remains a premium tourist destination, especially for our domestic market at this point in time, because international travel is severely restricted. We haven't got the figures for the last weekend, but we are hopeful that it is beginning to pick up. Already there are some signs of the snow chasers getting into our Drakensberg resorts to be able to enjoy that particular phenomenon. But we think the tourism product in KZN remains very, very attractive. I think it's just the COVID-19 issue that needs to be brought significantly under control for that sector to take off.
Now, you'd already deemed it important for the provincial government to meet the diplomatic corps and also potential investors, given the riots that had weakened investor confidence in the province. Speak to us about, you mentioned the measures that you have put in place a short while ago, but would you say that you're already starting to see the results, or are these interventions starting to yield results?
No, absolutely. I think it was a question of confidence for the major corporates, for example, the Massmarts of the world, the ShopRite Checkers of the world, and they've already seriously committed. They've given timelines. They have some of them have opened already. Others have a 3-month, 6-month, and 18-month timeline, depending on the severity of the damage that was suffered. But all of them are saying they're coming back, they're rebuilding, and possibly even expanding. I think they were very keen that we were not whitewashing issues, and that we wanted to also contribute to what we call a new model, especially as it impacts on the township and rural economy. How do we ensure that communities feel a greater sense of ownership beyond just the job creation? And I think they appreciated that. So at that level, I think there's been a wonderful response. Then you had international investors. For example, you had a company like LG, the electronics company that was severely affected. They've committed, but they've wanted some relief measures to help them meet the existing orders. And we're pleased to say that although they have not made their final decision, but their requests in respect of some relief, tariff relief and import duties have been favorably looked at and is being processed. So yes, indeed, another company would be like Defy, which was affected in the Ladysmith area, and they too have committed, but looking for continuous reassurance.
Now, MEC, we are fast running out of time, but before I let you go, you've discussed plans to reignite investment in the province, but I want to speak now about interventions to ensure that we don't see a reoccurrence of the kind of looting and violence that we saw last month. What steps are being put in place in this regard?
Look, as far as that is concerned, we believe that it's at two levels, because clearly the security element is one element, because there was such a significant criminal element to the looting, even to the extent of organized crime being involved. So we think that investors would look for consequence management, as we would call it, for investigation, arrest, and prosecution, so that there won't be a precedent set that this could be done with impunity. But a second level, perhaps more important level, is engaging our communities, ensuring strong leadership on the ground, backed by action with regard to both development, service delivery, and investment in underdeveloped areas. And I think that's some very, very hard work that is underway, which includes, even apart from the 4 billion that's nationally allocated for those who are uninsured, to look at how our existing programs and existing budgets could be reprioritized to have better and quicker impact on our communities. And this includes even basic service delivery issues, because we keep saying, or certainly the economic cluster is saying, that water, electricity are key economic issues apart from service delivery issues as a social benefit or part of the social wage. Industry and businesses need regularity and security of supply of those basic services, as of course do communities.
MEC, thank you very much for your time. That's MEC for Economic Development in KZN. That's Ravi Pillay speaking to us about plans to reignite the economy in that province.